prostate gland will secrete its fluid, and it will be rich in an alkaline solution and also allow for maximal motility. Next, we have the seminal vesicles. This is really what's secreting the bulk of the semen. Okay, that's why I have 60% next to the words that I have on the piece of paper in front of you. Okay, this is a lateral view or an external view of the prostate gland. You've probably heard it talked about the size of a chestnut. You may have heard about that, the size of a walnut, okay, something like that. Okay, here is the seminal vesicle. Okay, this is the seminal vesicle. Here is the prostate gland. Okay, the seminal vesicle is actually the second fluid that is secreted in the semen. It produces the bulk of it. It also produces an alkaline secretion. And this is the fluid that actually initiates the movement of the sperm. If you don't have this fluid, the sperm, the flagellum of the sperm, which is the tail of the sperm, will not move. Okay? These two fluids will come together right here. But the name of this little piece that comes from the seminal vesicle out is termed the ejaculatory duct. So this piece right here is termed the ejaculatory duct. So we have seminal vesicle, and then we have ejaculatory duct. So it's a combination of those two tubes coming together forming the ejaculatory duct. Seminal vesicle and the prostate gland.
And those two coming together for the
Ejaculatory duct. Now, in terms of a prostate exam, they use something called a PSA, okay, which is has given a lot of false positives over the years. They used to use it as a standard. Nowadays, it's pretty much up to the urologist about whether they use it or not. Nowadays, they use it primarily as a screening tool. What they'll do is they'll insert their finger in through the rectum and they'll palpate or touch from the outside through the rectum and to touch the prostate. Okay, now it's through tissue, of course, but they try to touch it and try to get a sense of the size of it to see whether it's enlarged. Okay, so that's how a prostate exam occurs. So this right here, this skin right here is termed the scrotum. A lot of people think the scrotum and testes are synonymous, and they are not. The skin is the scrotum. The testes is the reproductive organ. So here's the scrotum, here is the testes. This structure right here is known as the epididymis. Okay? It's the epididymis. In terms of sperm are going to be developed and formed here in the testes. They will mature in the epididymis. They will mature in the epididymis. They will mature in the epididymis. Once they've matured, and it is time for ejaculation, they will move up this tube right here. The name of that tube is the vas deferens or ductus deferens. Now, different books are going to say different things. One book will say vas deferens, the other will say ductus deferens. It doesn't matter what you put down, both will be correct. So again, that's the vas deferens. So the sperm will move through the vas deferens, and they will join together here in the ejaculatory duct with the seminal vesicle, the fluid from the seminal vesicle. So the combination of the sperm, which is coming from the testes, through the epididymis, up the vas deferens, will join together with the fluid from the seminal vesicle and the prostate gland, and then eventually make its way into this urethra right here. The name of this urethra, being that it is in the prostate, we call it the what? Prostatic urethra. It's called the prostatic urethra. So if we look inside of the testes, here's the external view of the testes, here's an internal view of the testes. This structure right here is termed the seminiferous tubules. That is where the maturation of the sperm will occur. Okay, that's where they're actually first developed. They will complete their maturation, as I said before, in the epididymis. Agreed? They complete their maturation in the epididymis. The epididymis, if you were able to stretch it out, would be a few meters long. So they start, the sperm start their maturation in the testes, they complete their maturation in the what? Epididymis. That sperm production inside the seminiferous tubules is termed spermiogenesis. You may have heard in your high school books the term spermatogenesis. Think of them as the same. Now, as I go along, I'm just simply going to go along and just head straight on down the list. Now, cross off corpus spongiosum because I have it twice. Cross off the first one under spermiogenesis. The name of this artery that you see right here, that's following the vas deferens, is going to be called what? Testicular artery. What do you think we're going to call the vein? Testicular vein. Now, you're going to see a group of veins right here. Okay, they form a large group. That is termed the pampiniform plexus. That is termed the pampiniform plexus. So this group of large veins is termed the pampiniform plexus. Yes. So this right here is the testicular vein, and this right here is the pampiniform plexus. This structure right here is known again as the shaft of the penis. This is the glans penis. This little ridge right here, now you don't need to, you do need to write this down. This is called the corona of the penis. The ridge is called the corona of the penis. C-O-R-O-N-A. Corona. Okay? That is the ridge right here of the glans penis. Okay? Next, we're going to talk about the erectile tissue. Now, I'm going to go over the dynamics of an erection in lecture, not here in the lab. But you do need to know the different tubes that are involved in it and the erectile tissue that's involved in it. Now, I first want to take a look at this bottle over here because it gives you a cross-section of the penis itself. Excuse me, I need to just hit it here for a moment. Now, it is not going to be very easy. Jumped your coop. It's not necessarily going to be the easiest to see on this model. We have something called the corpus cavernosum and the corpus spongiosum. Now, that tube right there, for those of you who can hopefully see it, is termed the corpus spongiosum. The urethra is penetrating through that corpus spongiosum. The name of that urethra is termed the penile urethra. That is termed the penile urethra.
Can you just repeat that?
Sure. This right here is termed the corpus spongiosum. The penile urethra, which is that small little hole that you see above it, is going to be surrounded by that corpus spongiosum. And then you'll see two structures, or what appears to be two structures above it, and they have the same name. That is called the corpus cavernosum. That is termed the corpus cavernosum. It is termed the corpus cavernosum. The one below is called the corpus spongiosum. The two above are called the corpus cavernosum. Now, obviously, it's not going to be very easy for you to see it right now. There's about 20 people in this room, and we have one very small model. If you have a question about it later, don't hesitate to ask. I'll be more than happy to address it. Does everybody get that? Now back to this model here. This we called the prostatic urethra. This was called the internal urethral sphincter, which you remember from last week. On the opposite side of the prostate gland, or inferior to the prostate gland, we have the external urethral sphincter. The name of the urethra that is surrounded by the external urethral sphincter is termed the membranous urethra. So this right here is termed the membranous urethra. Once we exit out of this external urethral sphincter, we then head into another urethra, and that we term the penile urethra. It's also known as the spongy urethra. The reason it is known as the spongy urethra is because it is located in the corpus spongiosum. It is located in the corpus spongiosum. So, this structure right here is all corpus spongiosum. All of this. All of this right here is also corpus spongiosum in this pinkish color. This blue color right here is termed the corpus cavernosum. It is superior to it. So corpus spongiosum, in blue is corpus cavernosum. These are all of the erectile tissues. This is what allows for an erection. Now what it is in basic terminology, which I'll touch on, is that when we talk about an erection, all that happens is that you're closing the end of one tube and allowing the dilation of another tube. So imagine that I had a hose, a very pliable hose that was made of, let's say, a balloon-like structure, one of those long balloons. If I had water pumping in this way, as if we were calling it blood, and have it come out that way, okay? If I hold this end of the tube, what's going to happen